Sorry about that. I've destroyed my keyboard. All right, I guess I'm Natasha KZ for the night because I can't change it now. We are live on YouTube. Welcome, Councillor Salaki.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm having some connectivity issues, so you might lose me. And I can't remember the code to phone in. I apologize.
You should be able to phone into the Zoom.
Okay, I'm going to give that a try if I disappear.
Okay, it should be, yeah, it's on the same email as the link in.
Okay, I will do that if you lose me.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks for letting us know. I see we have Councillor Wainman as well. Hi, Kurt. And Alana is trying to get in. She's just. Oh. Grant, can you forward Alana the email with a link in it as well? Like now I can't forward anything without my keyboard, so. Yes, please.
Working on it.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we are live on YouTube and recording. We will welcome Councillor Miro when she's able to get on the line. So it is 7:01, we can call to order. I don't believe we have any changes or additions to the agenda tonight. Of course, on Wednesday, we will formally adopt it. Were there any additions here from anyone? Seeing none. All right, thank you. Oh, I see Councillor Miro has joined us now. Welcome, Alana. All right, delegations, presentations, or petitions. We do not have any this evening, although we do have Deputy Grand Chief Christine McLeod and UTAT President Kelly McLeod on the line to speak to their proposal under 8.1, the disposal of the end of the Dempster Highway sign. Council or Deputy Mayor Barlock, did you want to?
Yeah, sorry. Just with respect to item 1.1, I guess we're probably going to formally do that on Wednesday, but I did want to take a moment to just acknowledge the death we had yesterday. I lost a colleague and a friend in that accident, and he was conducting the same kind of work that I just finished doing. So it's grimly serendipitous, I guess, that this moment of silence is going to come. But I wanted to acknowledge that death and the death of the pilot and the engineer. And, you know, we feel for their families and they'll be missed. But I also want to know, I just put up a picture of the sea ice today, kind of in honor of those that just lost their life, because that's where they were flying when that happened. So thanks for giving me a moment just to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Barlock. And yes, absolutely, our condolences go out. And the moment of silence will be on Wednesday for those who've lost their lives in workplace incidences. We'll move on then to public question period. Oh, James would be James Thorburn, I'm going to assume, from the Gwich'in Tribal Council. All right. We do not have anything under public question period tonight, so we can move on to item 6.1, the adoption of the minutes of the April 12th and 14 council meeting. Was there any questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none. Oh, SAO
Mayor
Hood, go
Kulikowski,
ahead.
it's, I think you skipped item 3.
Well, you're muted, Natasha.
Oh, wow. All right. Hi, James. We can see you. All right, so we will come back to item 3 then, declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. I do believe we have a declaration on item 8.1. Councillor Wainman, if you can unmute yourself, I believe it's *6 on your phone. All right, well, we are aware of the conflict.
I actually have a quick question on that.
Yeah.
May I? So I was actually sent a message saying that I had a conflict because we originally, the greenhouse had put forward something we have now withdrawn. However, and I'm not meaning to put Councillor Reen on the spot, but as an employee of Northwind, does he also declare conflict? There's actually been a few questions from community members, and Councillor Reen and I have spoken, and he has given an excellent response, but I just think it's something we should maybe address in council as well.
Sure. So Councillor Loreen's not on the call tonight, so he wouldn't necessarily have to declare because.
Sorry, I
he's
can't
here.
see who's on the call. Because
Okay.
My computer's not working.
No problem. And maybe I'll just get SAO Hood to speak to the conflict item as he was able to do some research leading up to the request and whether any or all of you would be able to speak to it. So SAO Hood, I'll hand over to you here.
Thank you, Mayor Kulikowski. It is a complicated thing because technically, under the Conflict of Interest Act, it's only a person who has controlling interest or more than 10% interest in a company. There is no monetary advancement for him. However, it would be strongly suggested that he should, just because the interest of being clarifying of, because it is his employer.
Thank you, SAO Hood. I hope that clarifies for you, Councillor Slotky.
Absolutely. It's just good to have it very transparent that it's something we all recognize because people in the community are asking about it. That's all.
Great, thank you. All right. So Councillor Wayman, are you able to unmute yourself, please? Or SAO Hood? Oh, there we go. Kurt, go ahead.
But I have a conflict on the sign, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just needed you to say it.
Maybe we could find a few more.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to remute yourself, go ahead. Thank you. All right. Back to then item 6.1, minutes of the April 12th and 14th, 2020 council meeting. Were there any questions on the item? Seeing none. All right. On to 7.1, the action items list. Any questions or comments here? Deputy Mayor Barluck and then Councillor Wood.
Yeah, I just had a couple. First one's quick. Number 13, the gym passes. Obviously, we've had that answer. The card system doesn't allow the individual use on the cards, so I don't know if we need to keep that item on anymore. The other one was item number 6, the Bootleg Trail Bridge. I saw that there was some work being done out there last week, so I don't know if that work is completed or if there's still some more work to do in that regard.
The work was completed today.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Wood, please go ahead.
Yes, the question I had was on, I believe it's item 8 on the reduced speed zones for the school. How are we making out with the investigation and the legal opinion?
I sent another email to our legal counsel this morning, just asking for an update, and I haven't heard anything back yet. Have asked them to put it higher up in their priority list for us.
Great, thanks for that, Grant.
Great, thank you. Any further questions on the action items list? Seeing none. All right, on to new business. Item 8.1, the disposal of the end of the Dempster Highway sign. Councillor Wainman has declared conflict and will not be part of the conversation. I don't see a representative from Northwind though. SEO Hood, are we expecting one?
I wasn't notified of anybody.
Okay. All right. And we do have Deputy Grand Chief Christine McLeod, NETAT President Kelly McLeod, as well as James Thorburn from the Gwich'in Tribal Council to represent their proposal. Council has had opportunity to look at the letters that had been submitted. And so I guess I'll open it up to the floor if there are any questions specifically to the representatives here or to administration from council. Deputy Mayor Bartlett, please go ahead.
Sure. I guess just for greater certainty, I think I understand it. So when you guys are talking about your placement on the lot for Mackenzie Valley Construction, essentially when you pull up to the T intersection, it'll be right across the road facing you as you hit that stop sign. So it'll be highly visible in that location.
I can speak to that, Mayor Kulikowski. Yeah, no, thank you, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Barlak. Thank you for the question. And yes, you are correct. And I did share a document earlier. It might have been a little bit too late in the evening, but it's some key messages that we've prepared. And that is the intent to relocate the sign to the former MVC yard at the T intersection of Navy Road and the Marine Bypass. And just wanted to comment that with the recent construction of the Inuvik Highway, this location is currently viewed by many residents within the region as the true end of the Dempster Highway. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions from council?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Alana.
Okay. I just want to say I thought the rationale that was given by the Gwich'in group was really well thought out and really honored both the sign and I think their historical role in the Dempster Highway. So I wanted to acknowledge that.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Miro. All right. So if there are no further questions, then we will bring this item to be voted upon on Wednesday evening. So to Christine, Kelly, and James, thank you so much for your time. You are free to go for tonight, so thank you.
Masi Cho to the entire town council, and we thank you for the opportunity to present to you. And if you have any follow-up questions, we're available anytime. So have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So with that, we can move on to item 8.2, the approval of the 2021 audited financial statements. That will actually come forward on Wednesday evening after a presentation to council later this evening. So then on to item 8.3 is the naming municipal facilities and parks policy amendments. You will recognize the first one as a document that we recently worked on. After council passed the policy, administration had started looking further into some of our other policies, and we realized that we could probably handle both kind of in the same way and then also link them together. And so that's where these next, both items 8.3 and 8.4 connect. SAO Hood, I will hand over to you if there's anything further you want to present. We do have Kessel on the line as well, but I'm sure SAO Hood would take the lead there. And then, of course, any questions from council after he has said his part. So go ahead, Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Kulikowski. Right, basically, we have had, and council did have a discussion regarding the facilities and the parks, and at a previous meeting, we've taken that under consideration and put that those changes in that you can see in it versus with some of the areas of the committee that and what the committee is responsible for, and a few other things with the list and prioritizing and things like that. The second one, as far as the civic address and standards guideline, that policy basically had been approved prior. It's just we've brought it back with putting it into a more common or standard format for policies, which it hadn't been done in the earlier item. So that's basically where we're at. We're just bringing it back now after the consideration by council earlier, and looking at their suggestions and making those changes that was suggested. And that's pretty well all I have for that.
All right, thank you, SAO Hood. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Wood.
Yes, under item 3.2, all members except for the appointed town councillors shall serve without pay or remuneration. I don't feel that's fair to the members of the public on this committee, that councillors sit in the meeting and get paid to do it. They serve without anything, and it may be during working hours, it may not. I'd like to suggest we do the same thing as we do for the Board of Revision and compensate them accordingly. Either that or have the councillors serve for free as well.
Okay, interesting. I would be happy to hear what other councillors think about that item, or SAO Hood. I know that this is not the only committee that operates like this. All of our former committees, basically the council person was a seat that was paid, while most community member positions are volunteer, such as the Parks and Rec Committee, Lottery, Bylaw, all of those. But I will, of course, hear conversation if there is to be had, and also I'd love to hear what SAO Hood would have to contribute on that idea. So I guess
Maybe
we'll start with.
Maybe it's time we looked at the other committees as well that involve members of the public.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comment from council? Deputy Mayor Barlock.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I guess something I have to think about it more with the issue that Councillor Wood brought up. I did have another particular one there. I guess I was seeking greater clarity on section 7.9 in the front end to the document. In here it states a name change will only be approved if there is unanimous support for such a change. Unanimous is defined as not receiving any negative written comments regarding the proposed name change following notification. So the way I'm reading this, by that definition, one person could essentially scuttle a name change simply by submitting a negatively written letter regarding the proposed change. Unless I'm not understanding this correctly, whether this is perhaps a unanimous support among the committee members or the council. And if that is the case, we may want to add in some clarity into the statement, such as that unanimous support among the naming committee members or the councillors for such a change. So I wasn't quite clear on this because it seemed there could be up for some mischief making by someone essentially saying, well, I don't support this, and that would scuttle the proposed change irrespective of how much support it had from other people. And this issue will also apply into section 11.9 in the next item on the agenda too, because I know there's some duplication between the two documents. So I wasn't quite sure who is unanimously supporting what, and whether we want to allow anybody to just sort of say, no, I don't like this, and that scuttles the whole thing, rather than necessarily maybe having a general consensus of a majority of people type of thing. Or even even a super majority if you want to make it more strong.
All right, maybe we'll just ask SAO Hood to respond.
I think it's a very good point. That wording is was in the previous under the addressing guide, civic addressing standards and guidelines policy. That was already in there. That was approved earlier by council. So that was why it was also put in similar there. But should council feel that the point is well taken, that like you say, one person could scuttle the whole thing. It may be either council could say that there has to be unanimous or by council, or it could be that we take that right out. It would be, I think, the only way, because you can't, I don't think we would want to get into a because the vote is by council, so therefore it would just be then a majority vote. The committee would bring forward the name, council would then vote on it based on the recommendation from the committee, and then it would just be a majority vote by council then. From an administration point of view, I don't have a problem taking it out.
Yeah, because I know in the next document too, there's something that I caught this time that I didn't last time. So sometimes when you look it over again, you find things you didn't necessarily see before. But I mean, even putting in a clarification that the change will be approved through the regular vote of council or something like that, because it does kind of make that step clear. Just right now, the way it's written, essentially anybody could write a negative letter and that would terminate the proposed change.
My recommendation for administration would be to take it completely out, and then the committee can decide between them and then bring it to council. And council does have the final decision on any of these.
Okay. Like I said, it'll be the same thing for section 11.9 in item 8.4 in the next one.
Yeah.
So SAO Hood, is that something that we'd be able to look at having by Wednesday? Changes made?
I think if we're just straight taking out the paragraph or the item, then I'm sure we could probably fix it up. Because it's just a renumbering of that section and the other section, unless there's some other changes. If it's just this, we have to do. But I think yes, Deputy Mayor Barlick said he may have a couple others. So depending on what they are, I'll reserve judgment on whether we can have it Wednesday.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
The other item is just under section 8, reporting to council. 8.1 talks about the committee meeting twice each year to review and make decisions about applications. And I just wonder whether we want to have that meeting on an ad hoc basis as well, but perhaps no more than twice a year. Because what if we have a situation where there's no applications in a given year? Are they going to just meet just because it says they have to? That was one thing I caught as well. I don't know how often we have applications for name changes. There doesn't seem to be very many. So do we want to create a committee that is sort of written to meet twice a year, even if they may not have anything to discuss? And same as this one, if we decide to change this in section 8.3, and the next item is the same mirrored section in that document. So we have to change that as well. But my suggestion maybe with this one is to meet on an ad hoc basis up to 2 times per year, rather than designating that they will meet. If they don't have anything to discuss, I don't think they need to meet.
If I may make a different suggestion, maybe is instead change the wording to the committee will meet twice a year to review and make decisions about applications received for the names and reserve list and road name registry, should any applications be received.
I would think that's acceptable.
We also could change it to a have it shall meet once, twice a year. You could say, expand it a little bit to say that it shall meet once in June and once in December, kind of a thing, and then review any applications that have received it since the previous meeting or something like that. Or you could even change that to say after our name registry, should any applications have been received since the last meeting. That might even be better.
Okay, can we ask then that we send it back for some revisions, hopefully for Wednesday, but if they're not available for Wednesday, then hopefully for the next meeting. Does that make sense?
So what we're looking at then is changing is then under the naming municipal facilities and parks policy, taking out section 7.9 completely and read that, and then under the appendix A of that policy, doing some rewording of 8.1. We may come up with some other different wording there to try and clarify it, because even what I was talking about could get confusing. And then in the Civic addressing standards guideline policy, we will take out section 12.6, which is the unanimous. And was that other section in there? Sorry, I missed it when you were.
It's 8.3 for the meeting twice a year.
Okay. So basically, we could be almost duplicate wording for each one. So it's just the two changes essentially.
Yeah, the wording in them right now is exactly the same. So when you change one, it just changes the other the same.
Yeah, I don't see a big issue with that.
All right, then we'll look forward to seeing them on Wednesday. To Councillor Wood's point, maybe the conversation surrounding that, the monetary association of time to volunteer meetings, if you're agreeable to it, is that a conversation that could be added to the overall committee review that is anticipated in August?
Sure, why not?
Right, I mean, because it would affect all committees, I believe.
Yeah, I think that would be more appropriate.
Okay, great. So thank you for that. Were there any further questions on items 8.3 and associated 8.4? Councillor Bartlett, Deputy Mayor Bartlett, go ahead.
If you're doing 8.4 now as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed a bit of a quirk in the document, and I don't know if it's just an editorial thing. In section 5.2, it talks about the civic address numbering guidelines. And in the text, it talks about the north and east sides of the street having even numbers. And then it refers to figure 1 below. But when you look at the figure, it's actually the east side has odd numbers rather than even. So the text and the graphic don't actually match. So one of them's wrong. So we may just want to double check that. Because yeah, from what I gather, it's the west side has the even numbers, if I remember my addresses correctly in the street. But I may have that wrong because I just know people's houses, not their addresses.
Right. Yeah, we can certainly ask administration to have a look at that section too.
Yeah, so it was just something I caught this time in the review. And I think the only other thing I had was the one we already talked about. Sorry, scanning through my notes here. Yeah, that was it.
All right. Thank you very much. Were there any further questions then on items 8.3 or 8.4? I've seen none. Item 8.5 is a request for donated use of the Midnight Sun Complex. This request comes to us from the Mental Health Awareness Working Group. They're looking to host a healing circle for Thursday, April 29th. The healing circle is intended to be in commemoration of a longtime resident and one of the leaders of the group, Kristen Lavertil, who we sadly lost in the community last week. SAO Hood, I'll hand over to you if you have any items to bring forward or if there's any questions.
I don't have any comments on it. It's a very valid request in my opinion, and from administration's opinion. It's a late request based on what our policy is. However, our policy does give us some discretion for such items such as this.
Were there any questions from council?
May I ask a
Councillor Barlick?
question?
Yes, Councillor Miro, go ahead. And then Deputy
you.
Mayor Barlick.
Okay, I mean, the loss of Crystal is absolutely tragic. One question I do have, though, is if this is open to the public, I think there's a very large number of people who are going to want to attend, and how many can the community hall accommodate? Or do they need to look at doing this outside?
So my understanding that this is intended to be a healing circle, not the full memorial. I do believe that will come at a day later when more arrangements can be made for family and the like. But the community hall right now, I believe, can have up to 40 people in it, but that includes any organizers and staff. I'm sure that either SAO Hood or Director Salmier could add to that item.
Thank you, Mayor Kukowski. Yes, we were in contact, and Lise has talked to them, and they're fully aware of what the situation is. And I believe it is more of not an open to the public type function. Lise could clarify that, but I believe that's it's sort of a limited attendance. I don't know if Lise, if you have anything to add.
Not much. Okay. Not much more to add than what's already been said. But when I did email them back, I didn't get a phone number, but I indicated that it would go to council tonight, and I would give them sort of a feel tomorrow as to whether it would likely pass at council on Wednesday, so that they could go ahead and start preparations for however they're going to conduct this healing circle. And I did make them aware that 40 would be the limit in people. So it, was kind of even suggested that they might want to do a couple, do one at one time and another later on in the day, whichever way they wanted to work it. So they're just waiting to hear back.
Great, thank
I was going to say,
you.
are we allowed to make some sort of unofficial to be finalized on Wednesday because of the timeline, that we could make an unofficial vote today? Or official, if that's possible.
I'll have to ask SAO Hood about the technicalities of that. Please go ahead.
Under the terms of the committee of the whole, you cannot pass anything. The only motions can be done is to go into camera and out of camera. However, nothing prevents you from the mayor doing a sort of straw poll, so to speak, to see if anybody, or say, is anybody against it, although it's not a formal vote.
Okay. Well, with that advice, then I guess I would look to council to see if you feel you'll be supporting the motion on Wednesday, so that Lise can then go back and indicate to the group whether it seems likely. So I guess by a show of hands, or if you could come on the line and just declare your for or against.
For,
I support
absolutely.
it. Absolutely for.
Yes.
I support
great.
it.
Thank you, everyone. So that was unanimous of the 5 counselors on the line. And so we will vote on it on Wednesday, but we can give positive direction to Director Salmier at this time. All right, thank you, everyone. And on to item 8.6. We have the annual spring cleanup activities. So this is an annual request for council decision that comes forward. It includes large item residential pickup, ads and interviews, sponsoring the beautification contest, graffiti hotline, cleanup zone. We did receive an email submission, which should have gone to you late this afternoon from the proprietor at the solid waste site with some concerns about the commercial free dumping section. So I guess I would hand over to SAO Hood and Director Campbell here to explain anything within the RFCD, and then also if they wanted to touch on the email received as well. SAO Hood.
Thank you. Well, historically, and although that's a big word, this has always been done in many ways. The other thing I will point out is that in the contract with the operator, and when they bid on it, that is clearly put in the contract that this will take place. Yes, we fully understand that there could be the potential. There is the loss, and maybe some groups do maybe collect up or save up. But there are other I would say that it is a way that especially in these times when people are and we had this discussion last year about it, is at this time of year when some businesses are hurting and stuff like that, that it's something that we would look at. And that's really about all I've got for it.
Thank you, SAO Hood. So with that, are there any questions from council?
Sorry, Ray.
Councillor Selecki, go ahead.
It's not really a question, but more of a comment of, well, I guess it's just a question. What about putting a cap? So the discussion that there are people who are stockpiling ridiculous amounts. Perhaps if there was a cap as to for industrial services, you're only allowed to have X amount of truckloads or X amount of financial towards it, so that it does not encourage this hoarding of garbage. Maybe that would be something we could look at. You know, I think it's still great to offer everybody a bit of a discount, both businesses and residential, but there should be some sort of a limit on what we are allowing for the free tipping week or two.
Thank you, Councillor Selecki. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Yeah, originally when I looked at the letter, I thought, yeah, it's a heck of a loss of revenue to the town. I don't know how many businesses as such are abusing it. I don't think it's a large number. But one way to control it, and I've spoken to other people about this, is maybe putting in a discount instead of free tipping. We could do 50% of the going rate. However, we are in the midst of a pandemic. Businesses right across Canada are suffering because of it. I don't think now is the time to institute new fees. So maybe we could look at this in the next fiscal year and make a decision maybe January or February. It just seems like poor timing to restrict people or punish them financially. And like the SAO said, this has actually been going on for years. So another 6 months to a year won't really have much of an impact.
Mayor Kulikowski, if I could just also add that it would be something that the council can certainly discuss a bit later in the year. The contract for the solid waste site expires at the end of this year. So if council decided to put something more in or how they wanted to do it, that also could be put into that contract. as well, if we are going to change sort of the context of this kind of a thing, and that could be built into the contract.
Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. I wasn't aware that contract expired the end of this year. It's probably a good time to have a look at the contract and maybe other things we want to change as well. So the tipping fees could be looked at, the free tipping and so on. It's just good timing, really. So I'd suggest we postpone this or delay it or whatever until that contract is reviewed.
You mean
Councillor Wayne?
postpone reviewing that item?
No, just, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I guess that's what I meant to say.
Okay, all right, thank
I'm
you. Councillor
confused
Wademan.
enough. Okay.
All right. Councillor Wademan, go ahead.
Since we're on the topic of the dump and our tipping fees, I think the tipping fees, and we're looking at a new contract should be revised, and a tipping fee should go to the community and not to the contract at the dump. I mean, that's a lot. It's our own asset. We should be collecting the revenue for the community and spreading it out wisely on our taxes. I see a lot of money being lost this way, so it's just, there's a few things concerning about the contracts.
Great, thank you, Councillor Raymond. Any further discussion here tonight on the annual spring cleanup activities? Deputy Mayor Bartlett.
Good, thank you. I think it would be prudent to do an overall review of the landfill structure and how it's being managed and what we have in the contract. I think with respect to making a decision like this too, I think it would be good to have a little bit of data or information gathered from the town, because I'm sure they get information on how much is going in there, and they can glean out during that 2-week period that's been traditionally done, say over the last 5 or 10 years. Like, is there, what's the difference in what's going in there from the commercial aspect during that time? I think it's good to look at information and data when we're going to make decisions that may have financial implications, not just for the town, but potentially for a contractor we're working with as well. So I think, that could be something done over the course of this year leading up to the renewal of the contract at the end of the calendar year, is let's look at it maybe in a more detailed way and gather some data and do some analysis on what changes how they may impact things, both from the town's perspective, but also from a contractor's perspective as well. So I think it's worthwhile to have a review and take a look at it, because there have been a few suggestions put out. So let's kind of put it all together and gather as much information as we can from administration and have a serious look at it. Whether this council does it, or it could be one of the early things the next council does after the election in the fall.
Great, thank you everyone for your input. Were there any further questions or comments then on this item?
Are we able to consider postponing the free week until we've had a chance to look at this, so we could look at this immediately?
Just the free week for the commercial? Just so I'm clear? Okay.
Yeah, with coming up and maybe just postpone it a little bit to get some information, because I think Deputy Mayor Barlick is correct. We do need to do a little bit more digging.
Okay. I guess SAO Hood, I'll look to you, but I would guess that is a possibility then. That this item could
Everything's
come
a
forward on its
possibility.
own later. Yeah.
One of the options council would have is then in Wednesday, if you wish, to just eliminate the second bullet as far as the commercial and industrial, and we can take a look at it. Because there's no set date that we would certainly have to do it, but it doesn't have to coincide, although we try and do everything all at once with the beautification to get it done.
Okay.
One of the things that I would suggest, there was a comment about from Deputy Mayor Barlick about the next year or the next council. My recommendation is this council who have a sort of understanding and have seen some of the issues that we've come up with, and that be done because there is, if we are going to, for the next year's contract, we have to get the tender out and stuff like that. So that's like in a September timeframe. Therefore, waiting for the other council to do it would probably be more difficult to do, and depending on the makeup of the council, there may be this council would have more understanding from a historical point of view of some of the issues.
I would be
Great.
happy to review it before the fall time if it's available.
All right.
I'll rescind that suggestion about the next council.
There we go. All right. So then moving forward on Wednesday, council can decide whether to remove that second bullet or not. And we can then ask, of course, administration to bring the information forward and then make a decision at a later date. So with those suggestions acknowledged, and I guess, is there any last questions or comments on item 8.6? Seeing none. All right. We do not have anything under bylaws tonight, so we'll move on to department head reports. Tonight we do have the financial report. You would have received the budget variance late in the day as well in an email. The original documents that were included in your package were a little more in-depth than was intended, but if you managed to figure out how to read them, good job. So I will hand over to SAO Hood, as he is also our acting Director of Finance right now, to present his report.
Thank you, Mayor Kulikowski. I really don't have a lot of comments on it. I think I tried to explain in the text report, and in it, obviously, that for the first quarter, it's always a timing as to certain things coming in. On the good side, we are doing a little better than anticipated, but I always caution that there are certain little things that happen in the first quarter that make it very difficult to predict as far as when some certain funding is going to come in, timing of a few things, the capital expenditures, etc. But overall, I believe that we're well on track to achieve the goals that we want for the year and the budget that we proposed, the interim. We will be obviously working on the final budget because there are a number of things that have changed circumstances since we did the interim budget in December. But overall, they'll all be, I anticipate being positive.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any questions from council on the variance report? Seeing none. All right. Under information items tonight, we just had the strategic priorities chart, which is due for an update of sorts. Council will need to schedule a meeting to review the chart and update it sometime here in the near future. So I did send out an email last week just with the notes from the last session that we did have. And so I'll just wait to hear back from you guys to see if we want to schedule something, or I can go ahead and try to nail down a date, maybe sometime in May, if that works better for everyone. Just let me know, email me or give me a call, or whatever works for you works for me. So on to council concerns this evening. Were there any council concerns? Seeing none. All right, thank you. We do have an in-camera item tonight, so I'll look for a motion to go in camera, please. Moved by Councillor Wood and seconded by Deputy Mayor Barlak. Thank you to everyone who's attended the call tonight. Have a great night. Alrighty, we are in camera.
I gotta get off YouTube.
Oh, thank you.